Hello, guys, gals, and geeks, and welcome to another episode of my Lorethrough for Torment, Tides of Numenera. I'm your host, Board Contemplation, and last episode we spent most of the time going through character creation and going over the various parts of what makes you you in this game. We also got into a fight with the Sorrow, which is the enemy that pursues you throughout the game, as well as all the other cast-offs, for a reason that we don't yet know. We also saw the first mention of the Changing God, which you can see before you in the dialogue on screen. And again, just a quick reminder, the Changing God is the entity from which you are cast off from. A mysterious individual who has a hand both in your destiny and the destiny of this particular region of the Ninth World. And now we have crash landed, and our body is healed to the point where we can wake up again and climb out of the labyrinth, and we see these two individuals, Alagurn and Calistege. If anyone agrees with my pronunciation, too bad. This is what we're going with for this playthrough. Unless, like, you guys get really angry and then tell me to do something different, then I will, because I am a coward. So, let's respond to Alagurn's aggressive way of trying to get us to talk. I think we should probably start with, who are you? Who are you? If you don't remember who I am, you're more self-centered than I ever imagined. Okay, so we knew this dude before, or rather the Changing God knew him. You know she's not the Changing God, Alagurn. Scan thoughts. Alagurn's been more paranoid than usual. How long must I put up with him? Okay. It's her face. I've never seen any other people rebuild themselves like that. Only the Changing God could have healed so quickly. He sighs and rubs his face, trying to regain his composure. Maybe you could help me for a change. You know what this means to me. I don't, sorry buddy, but I don't know it at this moment, but I'll ask. You're familiar with the word changing, Alagurn? It implies inconstancy. Thus, the Changing God may well have changed. Several versions of her shrug as she addresses you. You'll have to forgive him. He believes you're someone he once knew, even though it's painfully obvious to anyone that you are newly born. Her most solid self curtsies while others bow or spin. I, and my sisters, am Calistege. This is Alagurn. We are explorers, knowledge seekers. That's how we came to be in this room. If I'm not mistaken, you are what we call a cast-off. The Changing God created you, body and mind. Your sire used your body for a time, then abandoned it for reasons of his own. When his mind departed for a new experience, you were born in his cast-off shell. Okay, yeah, so what I said before. Sorry for the redundancy, guys. Ooh, so many questions. So little that has been answered. Let's start with, where are we? What is this place? A sanctum of your sires. The common belief is he had several such places throughout the Ninth World. Possibly other worlds as well. We were only just able to gain entry to this one because of your grand entrance. Who is the Changing God? Huh. That's something coming from you. She gives him a sidelong glance. The Changing God is your sire, dear. He discovered a path to immortality long ago, a means to transfer his self to a new body of his own creation. I don't think he knew, however, that when he abandoned one body, another mind was birthed to fill the void. Oh, he knew all right. He eyes you up and down coldly. The only thing the Changing God cares about is himself. He doesn't give a single thought to those he leaves behind. Scan thoughts. He sees us as experiments, not humans. If you know the Changing God through my body, why do you keep referring to my sire as he? Fair question. We know your creator through legend and research. He's taken the form of men, women, visitants, and other things. His form is fluid, as his name suggests, but the stories about the changing god always refer to him. Okay, another word that's come up that we sort of need to go over. Visitants in the world of Numenera are aliens. They're people who came from other worlds and have settled on Earth. Now, most of the visitants that actually exist within the Ninth World at this moment have lived here their entire lives, and their forebears often go back millions of years. None of them have actually been to their home planet, and they are the descendants from people who have come a long time ago. So visitants becomes a kind of fuzzy designation in some cases, especially considering that there are probably some visitants who have been on Earth longer than the current crop of humans have. We will meet some of them throughout this playthrough, and I'll point them out when they go, as well as start trying to explain the other sort of categories of beings that come from the world, such as automatons, which are like robots, and then the various offshoots of humanity, like mutants, abhumans, and the like. Continue. It's easier, Algren shrugs. You are a woman. The changing god is himself. Are there other cast-offs? Dozens! Hundreds! You can say. Your sire has been doing this for several centuries. Though, if all of them were born the way you claim to have been, it is a wonder any of them survive. So, you say I was born when the changing god left. But why am I not dead? I used a cipher to slow your fall further, but the damage still would have killed an ordinary person. But think about it. If you're the kind of person who can make your body into anything you want, what do? If you've constructed bodies for centuries, you want to make each one of them better than the last. You want to live forever. You're not going to let your life end by accident. No, you'll make strong bodies, fast, powerful. Maybe throw in regeneration while you're at it. The changing god has always been vain. He rarely stays long in a shell that doesn't suit his self-image. She looks you up and down, her smile suddenly unnerving. Perhaps the changing god fled because he didn't want to wear those scars of yours. Oh, that's really rude. If the changing god abandoned my body, where is he now? If he abandoned your body, then his consciousness fled to another. He eyes you keenly. Oh, do stop! The look she gives Algren is equally piercing, amplified by the withering glare of her sisters. If there's one thing we know about the changing god, dear, is that he always has a contingency. This child was born here. The object of your obsession will have been reborn somewhere else. How can you be sure this body's a cast-off? You mean aside from your miraculous reformation? For one thing, there's your tattoo. All cast-offs have one, though its purpose is beyond me. And then, of course, there's your delicious naivete. So yes, the tattoo that she's referring to, you can see sort of on the side of the head of the character portrait here, and it's the pentagram that we saw, or pentagon rather, that we saw on our reflections in the mirror, as well as you can see it in the logo of the Tides of Torment, Tides of Numenera as well. And it's supposed to be the symbol of the changing god, although its meaning we will sort of learn as the game goes on. She could be faking it. You don't live hundreds of years without learning to lie convincingly. Oh, she sighs in expression, then says to you, what do you think? Are you a newborn child, or are you a powerful immortal whom death has robbed of his memories? Algren crosses his arms and growls, Fine. What do you think? Scan thoughts. This should be interesting. What do we think? I survived that fall and have skills and powers I don't recall learning. What if I am the changing god? Well, that seems unlikely. There's so much I don't know or remember. I think I must be a cast-off. You obviously knew the changing god, Algren. Who do you think I am? Who do you think? Am I him? I honestly don't know. I think number 3 is actually pretty diplomatic. It's just like, hey, this guy hates me. Maybe if I can reflect some of his logic back, and then maybe he will stop being such a dickus. That is just the kind of question he would ask. He scrutinizes you in a way he hadn't before. You carry yourself with the same arrogance, that glint of knowing everything about our world and the worlds before it. Your personality, that's very much the same. Huh. Okay. I find that kind of funny, actually, that is the descriptor we got, intelligent, which I haven't actually used that descriptor before, but my logic may have backfired on this one. I'm not the changing god, I swear. If you're not him, you're his god's damn spitting image. He spits as if to emphasize the point. You'll have a lot to answer for from a lot of people. Scans thoughts. People like me. Mysterious, dark, brooding backstory. You belong in a AAA game. And what are you basing that conclusion on, Alagern? Your feelings? He looks away and his composure slips a little. God, you're so rancid sometimes, Calestige. At least we can change the subject now. What was that blast of energy when I woke? As I was telling my colleague, it was obviously a physiological reaction of some kind. I've never witnessed the birth of a Castoff, but yes, it could very well have been caused by your nascent consciousness. Don't worry, I don't believe it caused any real harm. Not to me, at least. Really? You've been more abrasive than ever since we came in here. He shoots her a sidelong look. She just can't empathize with other people, unless she's experimenting on them. Are you sure the surge didn't hurt you? If it did, it was damage in our minds. Though how you check if it carked her, I couldn't say. You'd have to find normalcy there. At least we know it didn't hurt Alagern. That skull's as thick as organic stone. Do you know anything about the tides? I've heard the term before. A subject your sire studied in great depth. I'm afraid it is in my field of inquiry. What are the changing gods' bodies? Oh no, actually, we did that one. I want to talk about something else. Of course, child. You must be so disoriented. What haven't we gone over? So you can see how big, like, the actual dialogue trees are in this game. We're going to be spending a lot of this playthrough talking to people. Which, I mean, I feel like if you're already watching these videos, you're already kind of into stuff like that. But, I mean, the alternative is you could go read a good book, because there's probably just about as much of a word count in that as well. I think the original Torment, Planescape Torment, had like several 100,000 words that were not. I haven't played it through all the way, although I have played through about a third of it. And it is just as dense as this, which I am really enjoying because I like games like this. Before I woke, I was in some kind of dreamlike labyrinth with a glowing specter. With how hard you hit the ground, I'm surprised that's all you saw. I don't like Alagern. He's such a dickus. Why do you seem to hate the changing god so much? His face is calm, but his voice is bitter and tired. You should know, shouldn't you? You've ruined lives, committed crimes, and now it seems like you've forgotten the harms you've engineered. You've left a trail of the dead and dying behind you. She and her echoes share an expression that is equal parts amused and appalled. She's not the changing god, Alagern. If falling from the sky didn't kill me, is there anything that can? An excellent question. Having seen your regenerative abilities in action, I suspect they are primarily physical, a regrowth. If that's the case, you'd be unable to survive most varieties of psychic or molecular decomposition, disintegration, conflagration, and so forth. Degenerative diseases could pose a problem, and I know of several entities capable of psychic destruction. As she speaks, a vision flashes into your mind. It's not yours, exactly. Somehow, you know this is a memory of the changing gods. You are in a dark room, lit by a myriad of blinking lights and holograms from the many machines surrounding you. What about a body that can withstand the Sorrow's attacks? Says a voice. It seems to be coming from one of the machines. No, you reply. The thing has no respect for barriers of any kind. Physical, temporal, psychic. This is the only way. With a series of gestures, you bring up an image of a crystalline pod. If the resonance chamber works, it will give us the power to stop the Sorrow's hunt once and for all. We just need the right focal point. A catalyst. The memory fades. Callistes is still talking. You realize that the device you saw in the memory is identical to the one behind you now. It looks just like the Spectre had described it, a transparent sarcophagus inside a crystalline dome, with mechanical arms arrayed around it on a metal ring. Unfortunately, the dome is shattered, and the sarcophagus is cracked, and one of its arms is in pieces on the floor. Whatever its function, it clearly needs repair. Or flesh-eating viruses. One presumes disfigurement by the Iron Wind would likewise be devastating enough to... I think she gets the point, Callistes. I saw a vision of myself in another time and place just now. You didn't see it too, did you? I saw you stare into space while Callistes graphically described all the ways you could die, but that's about it. He snorts. I only noticed because I did the same thing. Okay, that's a point in your favor, Algren. I like that. Do either of you know anything about the Sorrow? I've had my share of sorrows, but never the Sorrow. What's that? Disease? Her mouth compresses in a tight line. I know nothing about it. That's suspicious. Do either of you know how to fix that crystal chamber there?
I'll remember that.
Algren chuckles. Then firm and certain, he says, not likely. Though it might not be impossible. You need people with appropriate knowledge. I'm sure the cult of the changing god will hold the answer. Her distaste is evident in the expressions of her echoes, although the face of the one in the lead remains carefully impassive. You turn to the insane to help a newborn. Where's your judgment, Algren? I would take her to the Order of Truth. The Order of Truth? Are you mad? It would sooner take us apart. What's the Order of Truth? Knowledge seekers, the learned who try to wrest secrets from the hearts of the prior worlds. They gather in the city to exchange their findings and help humanity to build a brighter future. He smiles brightly. Our friend Algren here was once one of them. Frauds, quacksalvers, and charlatans. They don't have all the answers, and I do not trust them with the changing god's secrets. You're just angry they couldn't help you with yours. Her echoes tinkle laughter. But I am being cruel, dear Algren. Let us take our new friend here to the Order. What's the cult of the changing god? Despite what she says, they're not insane. They're eccentrics. She laughs, but he soldiers on. They're worshippers of you or your sire, the changing god. They devote their lives to understanding your kind. Alright. Are there any other questions we want to ask? I think we've gone over everything pretty well. I think I'm going to figure it out on my own. Hold on, I'll come with you. Wouldn't want you getting lost, would we? Suspicious as always, Algren. Child, the world is an exciting place, but it's full of dangers. Rest assured that one of us will get you safely where you need to be. I'll be right behind you. A sunny smile crosses her face. Scan thoughts. I shudder to think what Algren might do to the child. Huh. Neither of you inspire a lot of confidence, not gonna lie. Alright then, let's go. Alright, so after that lengthy thing, we are going to begin to explore this area, and then we're going to start talking about the various kinds of Numenera that you can get. So, looking back into our inventory, we currently have one cipher. Shimmering Glass deals 13 physical damage and refills all the user's stat pools. Consumes an action. So, these ciphers over there are just one of the kinds of Numenera. Now, and something I probably should have explained before some of our more lengthier discussions is exactly what Numenera is. I mean, it is the name of the game after all. So, Numenera is basically the word that describes all the collective technology and material that has been left over from the prior world. You can kind of think of it as like technology, but technology that only refers to things that were made in the past. It's basically broken down to three major categories. There are ciphers, which are one-use items usually made by cobbling together little remnants of things from prior worlds into something that you can usually use once and then is no longer able to be used. As you can see, there's a limit to the amount of ciphers you can carry on you, and one of the reasons is because these things are cobbled together by people who don't know what they're doing or have like a limited knowledge. Often they can be dangerous when they are kept in close proximity to each other. The radiation from one may leak into the other and cause a chain reaction that will cause it to explode, or it might start shifting your molecules around in a way that isn't entirely pleasant. As you level up, your cipher limits will go up, and you can carry more at once as you sort of gain more resistance to it. But for now, we are limited to 3 ciphers, of which the shimmering glass is one of them. The second category are artifacts. These are pieces of prior world technology that are still mostly intact. They're not broken down into their component parts, and they're often used as tools or materials for Ninth Worlders to use. Often the thing that Ninth Worlders will actually use them for is different from their original purpose. For instance, a heating system may be repurposed as a energy ray as a weapon in the Ninth World. Or perhaps something that at one point was used to replicate food has now become stuck on one setting, can only replicate a toxic sludge that you can use to poison things. Again, the possibilities are kind of endless. The last major category are oddities. Oddities are bits of Numenera that don't have any obvious useful purpose outside themselves. Often they become like toys or little baubles that people like. Sometimes they play a strange sound, or they might just be a weird thing that you can't really figure out what its use is for. Some of my favorite ones are one that my players in my tabletop campaign got, I think, like 3 times in a row, which is a mummified fish in a box. Which I have no idea what the possible purpose of that could be, but it's pretty weird. Another one were 5 pills that, when used, can reverse poop into the food that it was made out of. So they can get pretty out there, and while some of them, like the one I last described, does have like a semi-useful purpose, it's not something that is usually obviously useful by just looking at it. And you'll also see over here that there's something called bonded here. Now, the other way that Numenera is understood by Ninth Worlders is how it is sort of discovered and how it is used and seen by the people in Ninth World. So one of the categories is scavenged, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's just something that you've scraped off the ground that is kind of useful. There's cobbled, which accounts for most ciphers, where you take a couple of pieces of things that are useful and form it to make it do something that it might not have been originally intended to do, but is a useful effect. Bonded, as you see here, is basically what happens when an artifact or other thing basically gets taken by the Ninth World and is made its owner's own, usually by customizing it in some way, or just decorating it, or making it part of the culture of the current Ninth World itself. Getting the aforementioned heat ray that I mentioned earlier, and say rigging it with a trigger action so you can aim it easier, or putting like a emblem of your house or your knighthood on the side of it is another way that you might customize it and make it bonded, make it yours. And then the final one, fashioned objects are ones that actually don't come from prior worlds, but are things made made by the current people of the Ninth World that are made using their knowledge of Ninth World technology. So these are like original, they're not scavenged, they are original objects that are made with the knowledge of the Ninth World. If someone were to try and remake that heat ray without using any of the parts from its actual thing, with just stuff that they found around, that would be a fashioned object. All of these things come together to sort of build up the civilization that you will see throughout Torment, Tides of Numenera. Outside of the scavenged material and these technology, it's basically a medieval level society. It's swords and arrows and armor, because those are like the only things that can be easily made with the resources available. After so many years of use by the various remnants of this world, all these surface deposits of metals, ores, minerals, and other resources have been long used up, if you think over a billion years of use, which means pretty much all of the more complex materials, metals, synth, which covers plastics, polymers, carbon fibers, and stuff like that, all of that has to come from things that were used before. So it's kind of a Mad Max style scavenging society, except for if the thing you were scavenging from was way, way more advanced than what you are. Which is why so many of these things seem like magical objects to the people of the Ninth World. Anyway, let's take a look around.
It is done.
A mechanical arm lies on the floor, presumably broken during your fall. Sparks pour from the arm's shattered housing, filling the air with a greasy stench. Examine the housing. The sharply pointed apparatus that formerly topped the device appears burnt out and useless, but the equipment on the base remains at least somewhat operational, as the constant stream of sizzling motes can attest. If I look at it again, will I see anything different? Sparks angrily leap to and fro amidst the severed cables and other broken components. Examine it again. Nothing more. So sometimes you can actually get slightly different answers by clicking a question again. I'm not going to do that too often because the conversation options are are pretty long as is. But I'm going to attempt to scavenge what you can from the arm's housing, because I do have lore machinery. Oh, so now that we're actually here, as you can see the system that we saw before, you can now actually pick which character gets to do it. So each character will have their own skills as well as other things. And one of the things with like a lot of CRPGs is that often, especially with social skills, only the lead character could actively use them, whereas the other characters could only really use things like sneaking or combat related stuff. In this one, even the non-combat skills can be done by other people in your party. So picking the best person to do the job is often what you want to try and do. But in this case, I think I'm the best person for the job because I am trained in machinery. I think Calistige might be as well, but I think mine should be fine. So we're going to go up to 95%, because that seems... Yeah, success. Success. Taking care to avoid the sparks, you extract several handfuls of shiny trinkets and coin-like objects. You recognize their value at once. Such objects could be accepted as shins, the informal currency in most regions of the world, so you gather them and take them with you. We also gain spray flesh. So shins are the currency that is used in most parts of sort of the southwest of the Numenera world. We'll talk more about geography and the various countries and cultures in the later episodes, since it is a very dense subject. But shins is derived from the word shiny. And it's basically anything, little bits of Numenera that don't really do anything in their own part, but could be used for other things. So they're not uniform in any sense. They could be little gears or little shards of multicolored glass. They could be little pieces of plastic or a little doodad or a spring that you don't know what it could be used for now, but maybe someone else can find a use for it. Shins are often find their way into being used in things like ciphers and other cobbled together Numenera devices. So literally the currency of the world is based around useful things that you give to other people. Sometimes, though, things are traded based on their value in shins in a kind of informal barter system. For instance, if you went to a cheesemonger and said, "I would like a wheel of your finest cheese," they could respond that that will be 10 shins, please. At which point you could give them 10 shins worth of some silk that you got in exchange for their 10 shins worth of a cheese wheel, without ever actually having to hand over any of the little shiny bits that you found. But in any case, we got some cool things from that. And nothing else to see here, so let's leave that device alone. So, we're running up on our episode time now, so I think I'm going to leave it there for today, but then we're going to explore the rest of this room and the rest of this little area as we go out with its many devices and machinery that we can hopefully scavenge something for, like true Ninth Worlders. So, until next time, I've been Bored Contemplation. Like, share, subscribe, and all that good drit, and I'll see you next time. Iadace.